Welcome, friends. I'm so happy you're here for another episode of the AgithaCreates knitting podcast. And I am extremely excited for this. It is the very first episode of 2024, and this is a new YouTube channel, which means that you're new here too. So thank you so much for checking out my video. I figured that I have not done a proper introduction of myself in this channel before, so this is the perfect time to do so. I'm Agatha. I'm 31, she, her. I live in Minnesota in the United States. I've always considered myself to be a very creative person. When I was growing up, I did a lot of writing short stories. I did poetry for a while. My grandma was a seamstress, so of course I learned how to sew at a very young age. I was into photography for a very long time, also into making playlists in Spotify for quite a long time. I made monthly new music playlists for like 6.5 years up until this year. So I've delved into a lot of different creative outlets. However, in early 2020, I decided that I wanted to make a Valentine's Day gift for my boyfriend, now husband, and that is how I picked up knitting. I made him this. This is my very first knitted anything that I've ever made in my whole life. It's not a pillow, it's not a coaster, it's just a big ol' heart. But yeah, that is the story of why I decided to pick up knitting. I very quickly realized that starting knitting when you have never held knitting needles before, never held yarn before, is extremely hard. I found it extremely hard to figure out how to fix my mistakes, which is why I think I stumbled upon crochet from someone just saying that crochet is a lot more forgivable or forgiving for beginners. And I managed to snatch a whole packet of used crochet hooks out of my local Savers literally like the day before everything locked down for COVID. So I dove super deep, as you can imagine, for crochet during the whole pandemic. And I was very exclusively crocheting up until last year. Last year, I had been wanting to pick up knitting again because I really wanted to make myself garments, and I'm just not a fan of what crocheted garments mostly look like. So last year I picked up knitting again, and it's been a ride. I've learned a lot this year. As you can imagine, during those pandemic years when you can't go out to restaurants, you can't go out to shows, you can't go out traveling, you're not really paying for gas money because I started working from home, I had a lot of money that I was not spending otherwise, so I spent it on a lot of yarn. So my main goal right now is just destashing, reducing my stash as much as possible, especially my acrylic yarns. So if that is something that you're interested in, I have a couple of episodes a while back that you may want to watch. Just a heads up, this is a brand new channel. I feel a lot more comfortable talking in front of my phone now, but looking back at those videos, I can definitely tell that I was not feeling super confident yet. So please be patient. But yeah, if you're interested, you can go watch those. I got a lot done in 2023. I am very proud of all of the things that I made in 2023. I made a total of 6 finished objects, which for someone who up until this point was more of a process maker versus having a finished product maker is a huge deal. So I finished 6 projects. I have 4 whips, and I frogged 1 project. So we're gonna go through all of those. I think that the way that I want to go about this is in reverse chronological order, because the finished object that I am most proud of is also the first project that I finished this year. So I want to end with a bang. So we're going from December up to the beginning of the year. So the last project that I finished this year was a very extremely last minute Christmas gift that I started for a friend. I used Lion Brand Heartland in Black Canyon and Kings Canyon. I didn't even follow any patterns for it. I just one long twisted rib scarf. That's all it was. But it came out really nice. I started it on the 17th of December, and I finished it on the 23rd. So I spent a lot of effort on finishing this on time. Then before that, I made a terrazzo neck by Petite Knit. I called it my Victoria's Dicky Cowl because it's just a dicky. But also, I called it Victoria's Dicky Cowl because the main yarn that I used was a 100% Coopworth wool that I bought from Autumn Large Farms, which is local to Wisconsin. And the sheep that this wool is from is named Victoria. So I had to make some reference to this sheep. But also for that, I also used a 100% alpaca yarn that I bought from Applewood Lane Alpaca, which is another farm that is local from Wisconsin. It is so insanely soft. I cannot wait to get some more of that yarn. But this is a very easy to follow pattern. You might have noticed that I have not weaved in any of the ends or blocked it even yet. And the reason for that is I made this item because it can get really cold in Minnesota. And I wanted to wear this on the coldest days, but this has actually been recorded as one of the warmest Decembers in recorded history. So yeah, as soon as it gets cold again, I'll force myself to weave in the ends and block this item. But I started this one in November 10th and I finished it on December 15th. Then before that, I made the Even Easier Eyelet Yoke by Knititude in Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick stripes in colorway Toasted Almond. That is such a tongue twister. I started this one in October 12th and I finished it on November 12th. I picked this pattern specifically because I had never made myself a sweater before, and I wanted something extremely beginner friendly just to dip my toes in, but I thought it was extremely easy to do. The one thing though I did learn very quickly after wearing the sweater in public is I don't actually like to wear cropped fitted sweaters. I can wear cropped items if they're fitted if it's a top. I can wear cropped sweaters if they're loose, but cropped, fitted, and a top layer. I also started my very first sock ever. This has been like this for like at least a couple of months. So I've never made a sock before. I'm sorry, I don't think I mentioned this is the Hermione's Everyday Socks. which is an extremely popular pattern for socks. It's actually the most popular anything in Ravelry, fun fact. This was really fun. I have no qualms with the pattern. I just do not want to learn how to make a heel. That's all it is, really. Before that, I made my husband a pair of mittens using the palmistry pattern by Stephanie Lotvin. She has several palmistry patterns in different yarn weights. I specifically made it in the worsted weight version. So it is not geared for beginners. It does not hold your hand every step of the way, but it is so straightforward and it's so clear. I was extremely happy with this pattern, and my husband is extremely happy with his mittens, so much so that I don't even know where they are. So I can't even show them to you guys. I made this in Lion Brand Heartland in Black Canyon. You can probably tell I'm trying to get rid of my Lion Brand Heartland yarn. I'm trying to use it on everything that I'm making right now. But I started that on September 21st and I finished it on October 12th. Now we're up to the summer of 2023. And this was my least productive period of time of the entire year for me. And that is 100% due to the fact that I joined a crochet along and a knit along at almost the same exact time. So the first one that I started was on July 1st. It was the Vesuvius Tea by Nomad Stitches. I made this in the yarn Circulo in their yarn Anne in the colorway 7382 brown. I finished it in September 21st. So that means that I spent a whole 2.5 months making this top, and there is no reason to spend that amount of time. Ever since I started crocheting and knitting, I've always been the type of person where I get a lot of joy out of starting a lot of projects, but I didn't really care much about the finishing of it. It was just the starting and the learning of the techniques and such. But this summer I definitely learned that I can really only make one thing at a time, because otherwise I will never finish them. And the crochet along that I started almost at the same time, it was July 7th, was for the Bella Notte blouse by, I looked up the pronunciation beforehand, Emily Schutz? Skit. Okay, so I got that wrong, even though I looked it up beforehand. Emily Skut. I hope I got that right this time. I made this using Lion Brand Comfy Cotton Blend in the colorway Mochaccino. Oh, it's kind of fun that the colorway is like an Italian thing and the name of the pattern is too. That's kind of fun, actually. I didn't realize that until now. But yeah, I started this blouse almost at the same exact time. I never finished it. This is in hibernation officially. And the reason why I never finished it is because this is actually the very first knitted item that I started after I spent, at least a couple of years doing only crochet. And I did not realize that you have to knit a gauge swatch in the round when it's an item that's knitted in the round, because in crochet you just do it flat. You're not gauge swatching in the round. So I did gauge swatch for the top, but I did it flat. So by the time that I finished it, it was bigger than I wanted it to be. and I just didn't like the way that it looks on me. The only thing that I needed to do on it was the sleeves. I had knit the whole body. I learned how to do German short rows with that project. And learning is a big word. I just tried my hardest to get it right. I started it like 5 times. I'm not even joking. Now we are in late spring. I started a blanket using Loops and Threads Sweet Snuggles Light in the colorways Lavender and Dusty Lilac Dot. This is a yarn that was already in my stash. I just wanted to make something that was very mindless, and something that would keep me warm, because it was, it's still a little cold every once in a while. And I haven't finished it. I literally am down to the last few yards of the blanket, but it got warm. It became summer, so there's no way that I'm gonna work on a blanket with chenille yarn in the summer. It's just not gonna happen. Now, also in late spring, this pattern by Scump Stitch called the Pansy Tote came out, and it is so darn cute. I just wanted to start it immediately, so I did. I don't even know when I started it. I didn't write it down in my Ravelry page. I have a very specific view of what it should look like in my head, so I spent a lot of time modifying it. And then when the Crochet Along and Knit Along started, I just kind of put it in the back burner and never looked at it again. So yeah, it's cute. One day I would like to have something like this, but it's not gonna be right now. So second to last, I got married last year in mid-May. We almost immediately left for a road trip. We drove from Minnesota to Sudbury, Canada, and then Toronto. It was our honeymoon road trip, and I brought with me a project to work on in the car using fingering weight. And if you have ever tried making anything in the car using fingering weight, especially crochet, it is near impossible. So on the very first day of the trip, I think we were in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, and we saw a Joann's, so we stopped, and I found this yarn, Lion Brand Respect, in the colorway Plumberry. It is super, super cute. It was on clearance at the time. They only had 3 skeins left. There was this pattern that I had been wanting to make by Daisy and Dime called the Equinox Tee, and I decided that was my new road trip project. I very quickly realized 3 skeins is not enough to crochet a garment, no matter how cropped it is. This one was absolutely frogged. It was just a big failure. That leads us to my magnum opus of 2023. And as I mentioned, I got married last year, and I made my wedding dress. I am extremely happy with the way that my wedding dress looks. I was inspired by Kutova Kika to make it when she released her video in September on her making her wedding dress. So I worked on it from October all the way through 1 week before the wedding. I used Knit Picks Luminance Lace in their undyed yarn. They call it Bear. So if you are interested at all to learn more about my wedding dress, my very first couple of videos on this channel is about them. Again, I was not yet confident making videos at that point, so they are a little hard to watch, at least for me, considering I made them. But there's a lot of information out there. Hi friends, this is me from the future. Yes, I am wearing my wedding dress. I just finished shooting the B-roll for when I'm talking about my wedding dress. Um, but I remembered about half an hour ago that there is a project that I fully forgot to mention. I didn't even create a Ravelry project page for it. I'm trying to talk too fast, but basically in the spring, right around the time I believe when I started the purple pansy tote, I found this YouTube channel. I didn't even look up the name. I'll put it on screen. Of a girl where her entire channel is solely about color pulling yarn. And I became obsessed with the idea of trying it myself. So, this is what I made. Isn't it so cool? So, this is Red Heart Super Saver pooling in the colorway Berry Pulling. I bought 3 skeins of this. Now I was trying to think of why did I stop working on it? Cause I pulled it out and it just looks so cool. I think it's partially because probably the crochet along and the knit along started in the summer, but also I don't know if I mentioned it. This took one whole skein of yarn, this whole thing, and I only bought 3 skeins. So I must have realized that this is not enough for a blanket. 3 skeins is not enough for a blanket. But it's so cool. I really am feeling very inspired to keep working on it again. Now, one more thing. I also knitted this kitchen towel. I fully lied when I said that the very first project that I worked on that was knitting was the Bella Notte blouse. It was actually this kitchen towel because I wanted to reacquaint myself with knitting and purling. That's it. It's really cute. I like the colors very much. And for this, I used Peaches and Cream. I have no idea what the colorway is. And it was from Stash. So there you go. That's it. Now, back to the normal programming. But that was my last anything that I made in 2023. It was, for me, a very productive year. Again, considering that I've always been more of a process maker, not so much a finished object maker. I actually finished a lot of stuff this year. It like big stuff too, like big garments, the dress, the sweater, the mittens, a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm very proud all of my efforts. So I have several categories for goals for 2024. I am in a destashing journey, so the very first one that I put on my list was I want to have a net negative in my stash by the end of 2024. And the way that I decided to quantify that was for every 3 units of yarn that comes out of my stash, I'm gonna allow myself to reward myself with adding 1 unit of yarn. So that sounds kind of weird when you put it that way, but the way that I think of it is if I were to use up, say, 300 grams of yarn, then I can reward myself with a 100-gram hank of yarn. That way, I'm not being extremely strict with a yarn ban, because I know that's just not the way that my brain works. But if I can, reward myself with little, congratulatory gifts by reducing my stash, that's gonna incentivize me into reducing it even more. I also want to spend at least 1 hour a month finishing whips. So that should add up to at least 12 hours in a year to finish any of the whips. it just makes sense. I need to spend some time wrapping up a lot of the stuff that I have. If I'm not gonna finish it, then I'll just frog it. I'm not gonna try to force myself to finish a specific number of whips. I just want to put forward a few hours of work towards my whip. I feel like that is reasonable. So that is my second goal of the year. Then I have the different items that I want to make in 2024 that I really want to add to my wardrobe. So the first item is I really want a heavy coat. I have a few inspirations, and that's another thing. For all of the garment categories that I have a lot of different pattern inspirations, but I'm not gonna try to commit myself to making a specific pattern. I'll leave that up to future me on what I decide to do at that moment. Right now, this is almost like a Pinterest board. It's just a lot of inspiration. So in the heavy garments category, I have two patterns. Number one is Lyle by Kim Hargreaves. I also have the Dawn to Dusk Shacket by Tiffany Tai. Such a beautiful pattern. I had to really restrain myself to not just cast it on as soon as I saw this pattern online. The next category is one medium sweater, just a regular sweater, and I'm already starting it. This is, if I can open my project bag, the Funfetti Raglan Sweater by Andrea Gaughan. This is what it's looking like. Isn't that sick? I realized last year that if I give my project names, I am more likely to get really committed to them and finish them. So this I'm calling my Ultra Woolfetti Raglan Sweater. I'm working it with, oh, what happened there? What the heck? Okay, I won't show that side. I'll need to fix that. So I am using Ultra Alpaca by Barocco in the colorway Duncan. And for the contrasting colors, I'm using 2 bundles of Blue Sky fiber yarn in their wool stock bundles, I guess. I'm using 2 bundles. This is a combination of the two. This is all of the colorways that I'm using on this sweater, actually. One, I'm pretty sure was called Cool. And the one that this pink is from is called Bramble and Fig. The one thing I will mention is I already know that I'm gonna undo and redo this collar. The cast on is just so messy. I also think it would look nicer if I made a twisted rib. So anyway, that's something that I gotta work on. But yeah, I am really enjoying it up until now. Now, the next category is I want to make myself one light sweater. And I have several inspirations for this one. So when I was working on this, I realized that I'm really gravitating towards garments that appear to be like an essential, like a wardrobe essential, but that have just a little something that makes it just that little extra special. So the very first one is the Amadeo Summer Sweater by Johanna Gurish. You're gonna be hearing her name a lot. I just think that this is such a beautiful sweater. The details in the sleeves just look so pretty. Then there's also the Flow Sweater by Matilda Cruz. I think the sleeves just look so pretty. There's also the Weekender Light by Andrea Mowry. What I love about this sweater is the boat neck. and the shoulder details. I don't think I own any boat neck garments. Maybe that should be a hint. But I feel like that would look good on me. Then there's also the Mica tee by Johanna Schutz. I'm so in love with that drop stitch design that she has on the chest. And she looks so good on it. I want to look that good as she does in her pictures. So maybe if I make her top, maybe I'll be as hot as her. The category that I have after that is I want to make one essential summer top. So summers in Minnesota can be really hot. The winters are very cold, like -20, -10s Celsius. And the summers can be extremely hot from, high 20s to low 30 degrees Celsius. I don't know my Fahrenheit. Okay, I live in the US. I don't know how Fahrenheit works. So I'll put up the Fahrenheit conversion in the screen. I really want to make myself a very cute summer top that will keep me cool during the summer. And the one that I've had in my queue for ages, I wanted to make this in 2023 and I just didn't get to it. I want to make the Pie Camisole by Nabita Jarrett. I've been talking about this pattern for a while now. I am gonna make it with a yarn that I just received from Fuzzy Peach Fiber. Is that her name? Fuzzy Peach Fiber Yarns. Yes, that's right. And I bought it in the colorway Midnight out of her Pacific Northwest. No, it was the Hello Pumpkin collection. So I would really like to make the Pie Camisole, but just in case, I have other patterns in here for inspiration. I also have the Wolf Bayou by Samantha Statter. It just looks so easy breezy, beautiful, and cool. Also in temperature cool, but also it looks cool, There's also the Casper top, again by Johanna Gurish. This one she did make with mohair. That is the recommended yarn. I used mohair in my wedding dress and I didn't hate wearing it at all. It was the working with it. When I was working it, all the fluff would just go airbound and I would be breathing that in and it would just make me feel like I had a cold, and it was a somewhat miserable experience. So I would most definitely not make this in mohair. And in that similar vein is the As If Tee by Shay Johnson. It's a similar concept, very cute. The one thing that I'm not 100% about is how high the neck is. But we'll see. This is just an inspiration, but it's a very, very, very cute top. So that is it for essential summer tops. I also want to make one fancy top. Something that I will only wear on a special occasion. The main one that I have in mind is the diamond top by Nadezhda Osipova. Hopefully I said that right. This one, actually, this is the pattern that I tried to make in our honeymoon road trip. And it is made with thread lace yarn, with the Knit Picks Luminance lace. And it is, so I've already tried making this pattern before, and I still want it so bad. This is the main one that I have in mind. However, in 2023, Pernille Larsen also released her Barbro top and Barbro blouse, and it's just beautiful. If I were to make it, I'm pretty sure that I would make the Barbaro top instead. But yeah, these two patterns are neck to neck in my mind. They're just so beautiful and elegant. Either one of these I would make with a Knit Picks Luminance lace. As you can see, I am a little obsessed with that yarn. I have a lot of it left and it was such a pleasure to use. I can't wait to use again. There is, however, one more top that made it into this category that I cannot get out of my head. This is one that I saw in Marianne's channel by Mwu. She made this as a test. It is the Lily Frill Sweater by Camille K. However, I'm not huge on the frill, but the way that it looks, just the sheer V, oh my god, it's just so beautiful. I saw that in Marianne's channel and I could not get it out of my head. I would love to have something like that. We'll see. This is a very tough category, you guys. This is the one that I may struggle with the most in making a decision. We are down to the second to last category. Make one something unexpected category in my list. This is a lot of patterns that I wasn't able to just put down into a single category. The very first one is maybe the Little Black Skirt by Skandir Knits. Also similar is the Flirt Skirt Light by Claire Jackson at Perfectly Knotted. These are just so cute skirts. I've definitely felt the need in my wardrobe for more skirts. I've always enjoyed wearing dresses and skirts, but I've gained some weight, so I don't fit into them anymore, and I need more skirts. Also, when I was looking in Ravelry for inspiration on what the design for my wedding dress would be, I ran into this pattern called the Metamorphosis Wrap by Lynn Rowe. And you guys, I had to really talk myself out of making this my wedding dress top. And I know that sounds a little crazy because this is absolutely not wedding dress material, but there's just something about it. I think it's just the fact that it is so unique, I guess. I personally had never seen anything like it, so I'm extremely drawn to it. One more thing in that category is the Fishnet by Park Williams. It is an extremely just open cardigan, and I think it would look really cute to wear at the Minnesota State Fair. So if you live in Minnesota, the Minnesota State Fair is a huge deal. I'll literally go like 3 times every year, even though it's only open for like a week and a half. So the Minnesota State Fair is the last week and a half or so of August, all the way through the first Monday of September. And it's usually the hottest of the summer during the Minnesota State Fair. So I feel like this would look really cool on me. So that's it, you guys. That is the something unexpected category in my 2024 goals. And we're down to the major goal that I have this year other than destashing. I mentioned to you how major the Minnesota State Fair is. And in there's a lot of different competitions. So obviously there's the classic, obvious competitions on cows, pigs, poultry, all of that stuff, livestock. But there's also competitions on needlework and several categories in crochet and several categories in knitting and quilting and woodwork and all of this stuff. And I am dying to make something to submit for competition. And I finally decided what it is that I want to make. So Minnesota for the second half of 2023 went through a pretty kind of intense process to select a new state flag. And I am super in love with our new state flag, but there were also a lot of submissions for excellent flag, submissions that didn't make the cut, but are so darn good. So there is one specific one called the Menacing Loon, designed by Rob McBroom, I believe. And I just think it's fantastic. So I've been spending a little bit of time in the time between Christmas and New Year's making a graph pattern for this. So I want to make a blanket similar to my slowpoke blanket, but yeah, I'm gonna make it into this flag, and I am super excited about this pattern. I think it's gonna be sick. In order to submit it for the Minnesota State Fair, I think I need to hand it over for competition by early August or mid-August, which means that I have about 8 months to make this blanket. I have a lot of yarn that I can use for it. I will need to buy new yarn for it. I don't have those specific blues. I'm super pumped to make this. I'm super pumped to finally be able to join the Minnesota State Fair competition in some way or manner and seeing what comes out of that. I feel like it would be a lot of fun. So that is it. That is my 2024 goals. I spent a lot of time working on it in order to make it, there's a little ambition there, but it is still fairly realistic. I had to make a lot of sacrifices, as in not trying to convince myself that I'm gonna make 2 or 3 sweaters or 3 or 4 tops, And I'm very excited for what 2024 is gonna bring. And I hope that you guys will stick around with me. If you are still here, thank you so much for watching this video. If you are, please leave a comment below on what are you most looking forward to, if there is one, out of my 2024 goals. Otherwise, what are you most looking forward to for your 2024 goals? I would love to know. In the next video, I will actually readdress where we are with my destashing journey. So if you're looking forward to that, please stick around for the next video. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!